The sky was dark that night, but not darker than the storm brewing inside the house. Linda, once a loving wife, had become someone Peter no longer recognized. Her face was twisted in anger as she threw their two baby girls on the bed. The twins screamed in terror, their tiny hands reaching out for comfort that never came. Linda didn't flinch. Her hands shook not from fear, but fury as she stuffed her clothes into a bag like a woman possessed, ready to abandon not just her family, but her soul. Peter stood there, shattered, his voice trembling. "The babies, they need you," he pleaded. "Please, if not for me, then for these innocent souls." But Linda's heart had turned to stone. She snapped back with venom. "They're not my burden anymore. I didn't marry you to suffer in poverty." Her words struck like a slap. Then she said the unthinkable. "To be honest, I don't even care if they live or die." And just like that, she slammed the door and walked away. The silence that followed was unbearable, broken only by the cries of Mary and Naomi, just 3 months old. Peter fell to his knees. Tears streamed down his cheeks as he gathered his daughters into his arms. "Don't cry, my angels. I'm here," he whispered, though his own heart was breaking. That night, as the world outside moved on without noticing, Peter made a vow. "I may be poor, but I'll be both mother and father to you. And I'll never let you go hungry, not if I have to starve myself." Morning came, but there was no breakfast, no job, no money, just one man and 2 hungry babies. Peter strapped them to his chest, their tiny bodies resting on his heartbeat, and stepped out into the cruel world with nothing but faith. He rented an old wheelbarrow and began working in the marketplace, hauling heavy loads under the unforgiving sun. Sweat soaked his shirt, his arms ached, his legs wobbled, but he pushed through, whispering to his daughters, "It's okay. Daddy's working for you." Some stared with pity, some dropped coins. An old woman paused, teary-eyed. "God bless you, son," she whispered, placing 500 naira in his hand. "Buy milk for the angels." But not all were kind. A woman across the road laughed cruelly. "You enjoyed making babies, didn't you? Now suffer." The words stung like a whip. Peter said nothing. He just looked down at his girls and smiled weakly. They're worth every insult. That evening, he bought milk, a little medicine, and some food. As he held the babies close, they smiled up at him, and for a moment, all the pain disappeared. Every day, the same cycle. Work, sweat, insults, but also smiles, laughter, and the strength of a father's love. One day, a kind neighbor, Mama Caroline, offered to watch the babies while Peter worked. He was hesitant but desperate. When he returned, he found them giggling in her lap, happy and safe. She became family. She became Mama. Years passed. Peter never remarried. He never gave up. His daughters grew into graceful, intelligent young women. He taught them everything he could: love, discipline, and dreams. At 18, they came running to him, waving their jam results in the air. Mary, 325. Naomi, 341. Both have been accepted into medical school. Tears filled Peter's eyes. He tried to laugh, tried to hide his pain. But that night, he wept alone. "God, I did everything. But now, when they've made it, I have nothing left to give." But even in tears, Peter made another vow. "I'll crawl if I have to, but I won't let poverty steal their future." The next morning, before the sun had risen, he walked to the home of a wealthy man. The gatekeeper stared. The owner appeared in pajamas, annoyed. Peter fell to his knees. "Sir, take me as your houseboy. I'll clean, wash, cook, serve, anything. Just help me send my daughters to school. They've worked too hard. I'll give you my years. Just give them a future." The man stared cold, unmoved. Peter poured his heart out. The heartbreak, the hunger, the abandonment, and the promise he made 18 years ago. The man sighed and walked back inside. Peter sat on the ground, helpless, but just as he stood to leave, the gate creaked open again. The man returned, holding a check. "You kept a promise most men would have abandoned. Your daughters deserve to rise, and you, sir, deserve to rest. I'll pay for everything." Peter fell to the ground, sobbing, not out of weakness, but out of relief. His daughters hugged him tight. "Daddy, you're our hero." And he whispered, voice cracking, "No, you two gave me the strength to live." 2 students studying medicine and surgery. This was no child's play. The weight of the world seemed to press down on Mr. Peter's shoulders as he stood up quietly and said, "I will not do it." Without another word, he left the house, his heart heavy and mind clouded with worry. He went from door to door, visiting 5 wealthy homes one after another. Each time, he knelt humbly, begging for a chance to serve in exchange for his daughter's education. His voice cracked with desperation, but every door closed firmly in his face. No, not a single one offered help. Exhausted and broken, Mr. Peter returned home. For 2 long days, he came back from work without speaking much. His silence was louder than words. His heart ached with a terrible heaviness. How could he tell his daughters their dreams, the dreams he had cherished with them, might never come true? One evening, after gathering every ounce of courage, he called them into his room. His voice was barely a whisper, soft and fragile. "My daughters," he said, "I'm sorry. I have failed you both. Please forgive me. I promised long ago, when you were little, that I would send you anywhere to study, even to the ends of the earth. But now, I don't even have enough to send you to university. university. His voice broke, and he turned away, swallowing hard to hold back the tears that burned behind his eyes. Naomi stood, her voice gentle but firm. Daddy, there's nothing to forgive. We know how much you love us. We know you would send us to the moon if you had the money. Mary added softly, whether we go to university or not, we will always love you. They both wrapped their arms tightly around him, holding him close, as if to protect their father's broken heart. That night, after the house had fallen silent and his daughters were asleep, Mr. Peter knelt beside his bed. His sobs were quiet but full of pain that cut deep. God, please help me, he whispered. I have nothing, but you have everything. My girls deserve this chance. Please, Lord, help me send them to school. He wept bitterly, his hands pounding the floor, his shoulders trembling under the weight of his sorrow. It was a cry from a man drowning in despair. Mary and Naomi lay awake, their hearts breaking with every sound. Their father, their rock, had never cried before, never complained. But tonight, he wept for them. Quietly, they buried their faces in their pillows and let their own tears fall. Days passed, and a fragile peace settled in the house. Though their hearts ached, Mary and Naomi stood strong. They made a brave decision. They delayed their university admission. Painful as it was, they had a plan to work hard, save money, and help their father by next year. Together, they searched for jobs. After many discouraging rejections, they found work at a neat, modest restaurant. They greeted every customer with warm smiles, served with gentle care, and showed respect that shone through their exhaustion. Customers noticed and rewarded them with generous tips. Some men tried to take advantage of their poverty, but the twins stood firm, protecting their dignity fiercely. Every penny they earned was saved, each coin a step closer to their dream. At night, they counted their savings with their father by their side. Mr. Peter prayed for them, his faith never wavering. Every day, he knelt and asked God to bless the work of their hands. After 7 months of tireless work, saving, and prayer, Mary and Naomi opened their own small restaurant. It wasn't grand, but it was clean, neat, and filled with love. They cooked with care, treating every customer like family. Through social media, word spread, and soon the restaurant buzzed with customers. Their dream of becoming doctors still burned bright in their hearts. But life, with its unpredictable ways, had another plan. One tiring evening, Mary noticed a black briefcase under a chair as she cleaned. Look, Naomi, she said, holding it up. Someone must have forgotten this. Curiosity mixed with caution as they opened the briefcase and froze. Inside were important papers and a thick stack of American dollars. Naomi's eyes grew wide. This person must be very rich. Without hesitation, they closed the briefcase and took it home. When Mr. Peters saw it, he listened quietly, then nodded with quiet approval. You did the right thing, he said. Don't worry, the owner will come looking for it. This bag is too valuable to lose. The next morning, they arrived early at the restaurant with the briefcase. Outside, a rich-looking man stood beside a shiny black car, his face clouded with worry. When they greeted him, he immediately asked, Did you see a black briefcase by chance? Yes, Mary replied, handing it over carefully. Relief washed over the man's face. Thank you so much, he said, quickly taking the briefcase. Without another word, he entered his car and drove away. Naomi joked, blinking, You should have at least given us one of those dollars. Mary laughed. So now you want dollars? Maybe I should start calling you Lady Dollars. They shared a laugh, lightening the heavy days, then stepped inside to begin their work. The restaurant was still small, with only the two of them, but hope grew a little brighter each day. Around midday, the same man returned, this time calm and unhurried. He stepped out of the shiny car and smiled warmly. I'm Prince Tony, he said. For your honesty and faithfulness, I want to reward you. Mary and Naomi exchanged hopeful glances, hearts pounded. But instead of money, Prince Tony led them to a magnificent building. This is for you, he said. The documents in the briefcase were more valuable than the money. You saved my family by keeping that bag safe. Now, this building is yours for your restaurant. Shock and disbelief froze them for a moment. Their hard work, their honesty, their dreams, suddenly they were real. Tears filled their eyes as they thanked him over and over, their hearts overflowing with joy. They quickly took a taxi to find their father. They spotted him at the market, standing beside his wheelbarrow, sipping kunu. Without hesitation, they ran to him, wrapping him in a tight embrace. The market people watched in awe, two beautiful young women hugging a humble man. Mr. Peter laughed softly, shaking his head in wonder. Sit, he said with a warm smile. Let me buy you some kunu. They sat together, sipping the cool drink, excitement bubbling like a spring. Finally, Naomi spoke, voice trembling with joy. We have a surprise for you, Daddy. What is it? Mr. Peter asked, curiosity shining in his tired eyes. Words failed them, so they stood and motioned him to follow. With a hopeful heart, Mr. Peter rose and walked with them. At the building, Naomi's voice rang out. It's ours, Dad. The man who lost the briefcase gave it to us. He said we should open our restaurant here. Tears of happiness streamed down Mr. Peter's face. The dream, the struggle, the hope, they had all come together. This was the new beginning they prayed for. They celebrated with laughter and tears, joy echoing in the air, standing before the building that was now theirs. That evening, back at home, Mary and Naomi sat with their father, ready for whatever the future would bring. Together. They could see the stress etched into Mr. Peter's face, the lines of age and struggle carved by years of sacrifice. His shoulders drooped, his steps heavy. The wheelbarrow creaked under the weight of goods. But even heavier was the burden he carried inside. Mary stepped forward, her eyes shimmering with worry. She spoke gently but firmly, her voice trembling with love. "Dad, it's time to stop," she said, laying a hand on his arm. "You're not getting any younger. This hard labor, it's not yours to bear anymore." Naomi moved beside her, tears welling up, her voice cracking with emotion. "We got this now. You've given us everything. Please, let us carry the load. You've earned your rest." Mr. Peter opened his mouth to protest, but his words caught in his throat. Their eyes, full of fierce love and determination, pierced his heart. He felt a rush of pride and pain, realizing his little girls had grown strong enough to let him go. With a heavy sigh and eyes glistening, he nodded, finally letting go of the life he had known. Prince Tony hadn't just given them a building. He had given them a dream wrapped in hope. Chairs, tables, plates, and pots. It was more than generosity. It was belief in their future. Mary and Naomi poured their hearts into the restaurant. Every inch of the place carried their touch. It was warm, vibrant, alive. The scent of delicious food floated through the air, but what drew people most was the genuine love in their service. Their kindness wasn't just a habit, it was a legacy. The restaurant became a beacon of hope, a path out of poverty, built on grit, faith, and sacrifice. And at its heart was Mr. Peter, no longer under the sun, pushing loads, but sitting peacefully, his tired hands finally still, his heart full. His daughters treated him like royalty, and he could finally breathe in the sweetness of peace. But they never forgot Mama Carl. The old woman, once their shelter in the storm, was now frail and ailing. But Mary and Naomi made sure she never felt abandoned. They fixed her home soft and comfortable and sent her money monthly. Her name was engraved in their hearts, like the gentle lullabies she once sang. Their love was not just deep, it was unshakable gratitude. One afternoon, a woman stumbled in. Her face was tired, her clothes dusty. There was a quiet desperation in her eyes. "What do you want?" asked one of the staff, her voice curious but cautious. The woman swallowed hard. "I'm looking for work," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Moved by something unspoken but powerful, the staff brought her to Mary and Naomi. She clasped her hands, pleading with trembling lips. "I can wash plates, mop floors, anything. I just need a chance." There were no open positions, but something stirred inside Mary and Naomi. They couldn't explain it. Their hearts pulled toward her. "All right," they said softly. "You can start with the dishes." They didn't know she was Linda, their mother. Once married to wealth, now abandoned by all, Linda had nowhere to go. Her past was a trail of broken dreams and selfish choices. And fate, in a strange twist, had led her here. The next day, Mr. Peter came to visit. After light conversation, he walked into the kitchen and froze. His eyes locked on Linda, and for a moment, the past came roaring back. The betrayal, the pain, the silence. He stepped back, shaken. Later, he gathered his daughters. "You have a new dishwasher?" he asked, trying to sound calm. "Yes, Daddy," Mary answered. "Do you know her?" "No, why?" Naomi asked, confused. He looked away, then spoke the words he had held for years. "That woman is Linda, your mother." Naomi gasped. Mary stiffened. "What?" Mary's voice was sharp, disbelieving. "Our mother." Mr. Peter's voice was heavy. "Yes, after she left us, I burned every picture. I didn't want to remember. I couldn't." They stared at him, stunned. Together, they walked to the kitchen. When Linda saw him, her face drained of color. Her hands trembled. Her eyes filled with unspoken sorrow. Mr. Peter turned, eyes locked on hers. "She doesn't just work here. She gave birth to them." Linda collapsed to her knees, her voice choked with regret. I'm so sorry. My daughters, I'm so sorry." Mary stepped forward. Her face was stone, but her voice shook. "You have to leave." She pulled out money, pushing it toward Linda. "This is more than you earned. Take it. You're not my mother. Mama Carlos, you're a stranger." Her voice cracked as tears poured down, but her anger stood tall. Naomi stepped in, embracing her sister. "I know you're hurting, Mary," she whispered through her own tears. "But don't send her away. Not now. She needs us." Mary broke. "I don't want to help," she sobbed. "She left us. She let us suffer." While we cried, she lived her life. She didn't care. Her cries echoed through the room, raw and heartbreaking. The wound of abandonment was finally wide open. Linda trembling, reached out. I was foolish blind. Please forgive me, she whispered. That evening, they sat in silence, the room full of tension and memories. Mr. Peter barely spoke. The daughters struggled with what to do. But in the quiet pain of that night, forgiveness found a small light. The next day, they gave Linda a new role, matron of the restaurant. Not out of obligation, but out of hope. At first, Linda shone. Her voice was kind, her presence calming. The staff warmed up. Customers smiled again. But slowly, her tone changed. Soft words became sharp commands. Smiles faded. Workers flinched. The air grew thick with discomfort. Mary and Naomi watched, hearts sinking. Something was wrong. One evening, they sat Linda down. Your attitude, Naomi said gently, it's changing the place. Linda's eyes narrowed. Her voice cut through the air like ice. I'm your mother. I gave birth to you. You don't tell me what to do. Mary's heart clenched. You're hurting what we built. She snapped, her voice sharp and full of resentment. Where's your father? The man you keep pouring money into. He just sits there doing nothing while you give him everything. And me? I only get a cold salary. Mary's face flushed with anger, her heart pounding. Her hands clenched at her sides. Don't ever speak about my father like that again, she said through gritted teeth, her voice shaking not from fear, but fury. But Linda wasn't finished. Her eyes glistened, not with love, but with years of bitterness. You don't love me, she said bitterly, her voice cracking. You're just putting up with me. Those words pierced through the air like knives. What began as a tense conversation turned into a full-blown shouting match. Neither of them held back. Neither wanted to lose. Later, exhausted and heartbroken, Mary and Naomi sat beside their father. Their eyes were red. Their spirits felt heavy. Mr. Peter, calm as ever, listened quietly, his face a mixture of sadness and wisdom. She's still your mother, he said, his voice gentle but firm. But if you let her stay at the restaurant, she'll tear apart everything you've worked so hard to build. It was a painful truth, but one they couldn't deny. That night, the sisters lay awake, staring at the ceiling, remembering both good and bad times. And in the morning, with heavy hearts, they told Linda she could no longer work at the restaurant. The storm came quickly. I knew it, she screamed, her voice trembling with rage. It's your useless father. He's turned you both against me. Her words cut deeper than they expected, but they didn't move. They stood firm, like stone against the wind. As she stormed away, her angry voice echoed in their ears. But they didn't let bitterness guide them. They opened a small shop for her in front of her house, something she could call her own. It wasn't grand. It wasn't much. But it was kindness, a chance. Mr. Peter, quietly watching from afar, felt a sorrow he couldn't express. Deep inside, he still wished things could go back to when love hadn't turned cold. But too much had been broken. The pain she caused couldn't be undone. Without Linda, the restaurant began to breathe again. Laughter returned. Smiles became genuine. The food tasted better. The workers felt free. The place began to thrive like never before. Customers poured in. Praise followed. Mary and Naomi expanded, branch after branch across Nigeria. Their hard work bore fruit. But more than wealth, they found something they had longed for: peace. Mr. Peter seemed lighter. The burden was gone from his shoulders. The restaurant became not just a business, but a home, a legacy. One day, as they sat together, the old dream came up. Medicine. Becoming doctors. Naomi looked around the restaurant, her eyes soft. I don't feel that passion anymore, she said quietly. I love this. This place, it feels like where we belong. Mary smiled, her heart warm. This business is God's answer to our Father's prayers. I don't want to be a doctor either. I love what we built. Her eyes didn't shine for hospitals or white coats, but for a place full of laughter, stories, and second chances. They sat in silence. Not of sadness, but contentment. The old dream had faded, and a new one had taken its place. Love, purpose, a life that mattered. Soon, love knocked on their doors again. Suitors came with open hearts, and both Mary and Naomi were ready. Excitement filled the house. Wedding gowns, laughter, dreams of the future. But one thought tugged at their hearts. Father, Mary began gently one afternoon, sitting close to Mr. Peter. We're happy, but we worry about you being alone. Not all women are like our mother. We believe there's someone good out there for you. Naomi continued, her voice hopeful. We've met a woman. She's kind, respectful, and wise. Her husband died long ago. She has 2 children, and if you marry her, they'll be like our younger siblings. We'll take care of them. Mr. Peter was stunned. His eyes blinked slowly, taking it all in. 2 days passed, and finally, he nodded. Yes, he said quietly. Let me meet her. When he met Madame Ruth, he saw something he hadn't seen in a long time. Peace. Her eyes were calm, her words sincere, her heart real. He said yes. The wedding day arrived. 3 weddings on the same day. The church overflowed with music, with laughter, with love. Mr. Peter, once broken by the past, now stood tall beside his daughters. Mary and Naomi, radiant with joy, began new journeys with men who truly loved them. And standing proudly at the center of it all was Mama Carl, the woman who had been a pillar through every storm, a symbol of strength, unity, and undying love. It wasn't just a wedding. It was healing. It was redemption. It was the beginning of a new chapter for all of them. Thank you for watching. May God bless you with peace, healing, and new beginnings.